Today we got the story time of some of the craziest pranks ever pulled at school. The first prank is a big laxative prank where this kid puts laxatives in everyone's school lunch. The second one is a fake number 2 prank where someone pretends to be going number 2 in the bathroom stall like what you've seen on TikTok. And the third one is quite evil. This girl pretends to date someone just to say it's all a prank, but thankfully she gets the karma she deserves. I know you'll enjoy these stories, so leave a like for your free nothing and let's just jump right into it. So anyways, we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this first story Will. So anyways, there was a kid in Will's school who we're going to call Ben because we always use Ben as the secondary character name, whatever. And Will was telling me about this kid, Ben. Ben was always a mischievous prankster. Bro was always trying to pull a big prank. Dude was always trying to do something, right? One day, Ben watched a South Park episode. I like South Park a lot. I think it's a great show. I watch with my friends. I watch with my family, right? I enjoy it. If you guys are under 16 or 17, I would stay clear for a little bit. There's a lot that you probably shouldn't see right now. But basically, in one of the episodes, Cartman and the school, I don't want to spoil it too much, but basically, Ben was watching a South Park episode and got the inspiration to pull the biggest prank he's ever pulled. So the next day, he walks into school and he actually does see Will. He's like, yo, what's up, Will? And Will's like, hey, what's up, man? Like, Will was always on good terms with Ben. They weren't close because Ben was definitely known as the guy always trying to pull pranks. So Will kind of saw it like, okay, man, I don't want to be in a position where I get a prank pulled on me. So I'm going to be cool with him, but I'm not going to be so cool that when he goes too far, aka this story or this time, right, that I'm going to get looped in with him because we're so close. Unfortunately, guilty by association is a real thing, and you guys should be aware of that. Anyways, though, so Will's like, what's up, bro? And Ben's like, dude, you know all those pranks I pulled in the past? Some examples, I'll give one example of a prank he's pulled in the past. So one example of a prank, and this one actually Will was in class for. So Will, Ben, and a bunch of other guys all had a math class together, and they recently had a pretty big test. Ben went in and changed the scores, basically he went in early, broke into the teacher's room, used whiteout to cover over the pen marks that are already there and replace whatever grade that was stamped at the top, because the teacher would go through and correct all the things and do all the markings or whatever, but at the very top she'd write 100%, 80%, 60%. She would write what you got on it. But basically Ben went through and used whiteout to cover out the original grade and gave everyone a 60 or a 50 or a 40. So basically the entire class was like, oh my God, when they got their test back. And then, the teacher was like, hey, so you guys actually did pretty well on this. There was a few outliers, but overall you guys did pretty well. And the entire class was sitting there for a second. And it was a good prank in the sense that it worked, but obviously Ben got in trouble because everyone sat there thinking, oh my God, everyone else did well, but I failed? It's not even that everyone failed. But eventually, students were kind of looking through the corrections, and there was way too many examples of people getting 2 or 3 questions wrong out of 30 questions and somehow getting a 60%. So she's like, oh, that's not the right grade. That's also not the right grade. And then she goes through and realizes that all the grades have been altered. And basically one of the kids ends up snitching on Ben because he saw him walk in early and it was weird. And eventually Ben did confess. And I think he got suspended for 1 or 2 days, but he was known for doing pranks like that. And Ben was smart enough up until now to kind of spread out his pranks so that he pulls a crazy prank, he gets in a lot of trouble, and he doesn't immediately do another crazy prank again, because then he might get seriously kicked out or something. He usually gives it a year, even a year and a half. So when Ben came over to Will and said, yo, bro, I got the craziest prank lined up for you, Will was like, uh-oh, because these things only happen every once in a while. And there were other pranks that were pretty crazy that I'm not going to go into great detail to tell you every single prank. But Will's like, oh, can you tell me about it? And Ben's like, nah, bro, I'm sorry if I tell you, the whole prank might be ruined. Nothing against you personally, but just so you know, Ben looks very quickly in both directions. He says, yo, you should pack a school lunch tomorrow. And Will's like, what? And Ben's like, I'm not telling you anything more. You should pack your school lunch tomorrow. So tomorrow, or the next day, was Will's favorite day at school lunch. So kids at the school could do one of two things. They could bring in a lunch or they could eat the school lunch. Yeah, so you could do either, and sometimes the school lunch was pretty meh. But every single Thursday, let's say, I don't actually know what day, but I know that every single of a certain day, they would have chili. And while the school messed everything up, all their meals sucked, the one thing that they somehow always got not just right, they didn't just get it correctly, but they got it like perfectly. It's down to a science in a sense, was the chili. So, Will was like, bro, like, okay, but, the chili's like the one good thing they do all week. And Ben's like, you don't have to take my advice, but you should. So Will was like, okay. Will was in his head, he's like, okay, I have no idea what's coming. Will did not expect what was coming, right? He had no idea. He thought there might be some like hot peppers or something. He did not expect laxatives. Which, by the way, real quick, laxatives are things that you consume if you cannot go to the bathroom. You consume them to make yourself go to the bathroom. So if you're totally fine going to the bathroom and you consume them, well, how do I put this? You go really quickly, really hard, and a little bit out of your control, to my knowledge. Maybe it isn't exactly how South Park portrayed it, but it's close, right? So yeah, Will was like, okay. So Will had two friends, and they don't really need names, but screw it, we'll give them names. Call them Alex, and the second one named Roth. So Will was talking to Alex and Roth, and he was like, yo, boys. And they were like, yeah, what's up? He's like, yo, Ben, the prank guy? He's like, yeah, well, what's up with him? And Will's like, dude, just don't eat school lunch tomorrow. And they're like, dude, it's freaking chilly, bro. Like, I want to eat the school lunch. It's the best thing all week. And Will's like, I know, but he came up to me. He said, forget all the other pranks I've ever done. This is going to blow them out of the water. And he said, I can't tell you what I'm doing, and I can't elaborate on this, but since you're my boy, don't eat lunch tomorrow. And they're like, bro, like, are you serious? And Will's like, look, I needed to tell you because I would have felt a little responsible whenever whatever happens, and I didn't tell you. They're like, okay, fine. We're not going to eat it. And Will's like, yo, you can't hold me responsible if nothing happens. And they're like, fine. Like, we appreciate you telling me. So Alex, Roth, and Will all decided that they were just not going to eat. They were just not going to eat their, They were just not going to eat lunch the next day. Yeah, so anyways, right, they're just like, okay, fine. So the next day comes around, and they're all sitting at lunch together. And so this is Alex, Roth, and Will. They're all sitting at lunch together, and they all have their packed lunches, which are always okay, right? They're not bad. And in retrospect, they're very thankful they didn't eat lunch on this day. But they're all kind of just sitting there like, bro, because they're looking around, everyone else chowing down on like the, the chili. And, Alex says like, bro, like no one's freaking out from like hot peppers. Because their original theory, Will's original theory, was that something is going to be up with the spice level of the chili. Because I feel like it's very easy to sneak in some spice the last minute, break into the kitchen, big vat of chili, drop in, crush up like the one chip challenge chip, sprinkle that in there. I don't freaking know, bro. Like, I'm not a prankster. I don't know how this stuff works. But that doesn't sound completely out of the realm of possibility. So yeah, sure enough, they kind of, Alex is like, bro, I don't see anyone reacting. And, and Will's like, wait a minute. What if the prank wasn't even a prank to anyone else, but it was just a prank to me for me not to eat the chili? And they're like, dude, like, that might totally be it. He might just be messing with you. And Will's like, wait, let's give it a day. Give it a day, and then, my fault. And I'll, like, find a way to make it right to you guys if there's no prank at all. But give it a day. So anyways, they go back to class. And they're sitting in class. This is like an hour or two after lunch. I don't actually know exactly how long, because I don't know how long it takes laxatives to do their business right. But all of a sudden, Will looks over, and Alex and Roth are in different classes, right? But Will's in a class. He's kind of spacing out, but he starts to look around. And people start to have this uncomfortable look on their face. Kind of like that they have some kind of feeling in their stomach that something's not right. Dun, dun, dun. And so they're all kind of like looking a little queasy, whatever. And then one kid raises his hand. He's like, Mr. Anderson, like, can I go to the bathroom? He's like, sure, make it quick. And then 2 more hands shoot up. Mr. Anderson looks over. He's like, okay. He's like, yes. Like, Clyde, like, what's up? He's like, Mr. Anderson, can I also go to the bathroom? And we're like, Clyde, can we really do it one at a time? And then you basically see everyone's hand shoot up. They're all like, Mr. Anderson, I don't know, say I'm not feeling good. I need to go to the bathroom. Mr. Anderson's like, is this some big prank? And they're all like, no. So he's like, okay, something might be wrong with the school food then. Because if everyone's having the issue, food poisoning can happen, especially when you have meat or seafood. Food poisoning does happen. I had it once because I ate some kind of like seafood that had something sus in it. Oh my God, it is not fun. It is as if I took every laxative ever. It's bad. I'm not going into detail. So Will starts putting 2 and 2 together. And immediately he's like, thank God I did not eat that chili today. And he's probably thinking, okay, Alex and Roth are probably right about now, the same thing happening in their in their classrooms. So yeah, the teacher says, hey, you guys can all go to the bathroom, but I don't know what to say. Please keep it orderly. So Will just gets up to go with the crowd. He just wants to see. Thankfully, he doesn't need to go to the bathroom. But Mr. Anderson gets on the phone with the school nurse, and Will kind of hears a little bit of because it's not on speakerphone, but hears a little bit of the school nurse saying something like, yeah, we've gotten a lot of reports. Kind of something along the lines of, you're not the only person. He didn't hear it perfectly, but as he was walking out, there was a crazy line of people just clawing to go into the bathroom, bro. And then there's a lot of people were just funneling outside to the woods. I'm not gonna go into graphic detail, but I just want you to know that everyone had to go to the bathroom and physically could not keep it back. And there were 3 stalls. There was a lot of woods though. So there was a lot of wilderness adventure camp type. I'm not even going into it, bro. Anyways, several days later, there was a full-on investigation to see if there was food poisoning, because obviously the parents were extremely upset. There were security cameras. The school is cameraed, right? So for some reason, they didn't think anything was tampered with, but I think just because of protocol, they were checking over the cameras. And that's when they see Ben walk into the kitchen carrying something. So midway through class, Ben is pulled out of his class. This is not a class that Will has with him, but he hears about this from other kids he's friends with. He's pulled out of a class midway through, and so they stop him. They question him. They say, yo, did you do this? And Ben's like, no, I didn't do this. But then they search his bag, and Ben is not bright enough. He was bright enough to do everything else to kind of make sure his hands weren't associated with it, to give time in between his pranks so they wouldn't get fully on suspended. But they found basically wrappers or the packaging or the box for the laxatives. So yeah, Ben got full on suspended. Or not suspended, my fault. Full on expelled. Yeah. So the subscriber submitted the next story. We're going to call it PJ. So this all started on what seemed like a normal day in high school. PJ gets up, and this happened this year. Because if you don't know, there's been a viral TikTok, Instagram Reels prank of someone taking sitting in the stall next to someone else, having this brown liquid or whatever, and basically being making a bunch of weird moaning noises and then squirting that stuff on the stall. It's gross. You shouldn't do it. Did I laugh the first time I saw it? Maybe. I'm gonna confess that. However, please do not do that. First of all, I'm pretty sure there's some kind of public nuisance thing you can get in big trouble for. And 2, you're just being a jerk, okay? Especially if it's not a stage prank. If that was staged, I wouldn't care. But that's a rando in the wild, not good. Anyways, though, unfortunately, too many high schoolers last year meaning a couple months ago, last school year, too many high schoolers saw this and decided to be funny pranksters of themselves. So anyways, this all started off as a normal day for PJ. Getting up much earlier than he wanted to, as he did every school day. Got on the bus, half awake, put in his earbuds, tried to listen over the kind of commotion and the noise of everyone else screaming their heads off or whatever. Gets in the math class, at 8 in the morning. Always for me, bro, in high school and middle school, I started early, as everyone does. Everyone starts early. It's crazy now that I'm in college. I'm like, man, I have to start at 9:30. I remember I'd be up at 6:30 for middle school. I wouldn't care. I mean, I wouldn't be happy, but I wouldn't care. And now it's I have to get out of bed at 9:15 to go to my 9:30 college class. What a disaster, right? It's kind of funny, bro. Anyways, though, so yeah, sure enough, PJ, 8 a.m. math class. He's not liking it. So midway through math class, he's barely awake. He just wants to go to the bathroom, sit on the toilet, do his business, watch some Instagram reels. Just have a good time, man. Just live. Just wake up a little bit, have a little time to himself. Hopefully not to be interrupted by a no good freaking TikTok wannabe prankster bro who happens to be at his high school. Definitely that won't happen. ... So PJ's is sitting there, minding his own dang business, just trying to make it through, just trying to exist, right? He's on TikTok or on Instagram Reels. Be on Instagram Reels over TikTok, man. That's my suggestion. I mean, preferably YouTube Shorts, and you can watch my reaction shorts or whatever. But anyways, he's just sitting there, trying to wake up, trying to de-thaw. And then all of a sudden, he hears someone enter the stall next to him. For me, I always enjoyed a private bathroom experience at high school, meaning no one was in the stall next to me. And whenever someone would come into the bathroom, because it was public, it wasn't a private bathroom, I would be like, okay, whatever, man. I'd always be disappointed, but also it's like, it's not my private bathroom, so I get it. But it's also like, come on, bro. Like, Anyways, so the guy sits there. And then all of a sudden, PJ starts hearing grunting noises. He's like, oh, hell nah. Hell nah, bro. There's no way. It's 8:30 in the morning, bro. Are you serious right now? You just hear these like, and look, at the end of the day, maybe he had crazy Taco Bell at 3 in the morning and he's, suffering the consequences of his actions right now. Who knows? But the guy keeps on going on to make louder and louder and more exaggerated noises. And that's when he basically hears like a scream come for the stall next to him. And that's when this freaking brown liquid is sprayed in front of him. So PJ, who thankfully basically is done, he's actually all cleaned up in there. He's just sitting on the toilet, literally just to watch TikToks. He's completely done. His pants are literally up and buttoned. He like jumps up to his toilet seat and like screams. He's like, ah! And the guy next to him's like, sorry, bro. Just had a lot of Chipotle, man. I'm sorry. And he goes, oh, and just squirts it all over again. PJ is freaking traumatized. He's barely half awake at this point. And this is what he wakes up to. And PJ is just like, just so rattled, so shaken up, so just like, are you serious, bro? So what PJ does is he just, gets his stuff up, jumps, unlocks the door, jumps over the pile, like the squirted whatever, just doesn't, washes his hand quickly and runs back to math class. And he just sits down and he's just trying to process what just happened to him. He's just trying to process. So 2 days later, he gets a TikTok sent to him by one of his friends. He's like, yo, these are your shoes, bro. Is this you? So there's a TikTok with 50 likes. Didn't go viral. Of basically this kid at the school that PJ knows doing basically the fake prank on him. And you can see PJ's shoes. You can see him jump up and scream a little bit. And you can see this kid laughing. So PJ's like, nah, this is not how we roll. So PJ finds the kid and stops him the next day. He's like, hey, the kid's like, what's up, bro? Because they don't know each other like that. He's like, look, I was the kid you pulled the prank on in the locker. And the kid's like, oh, okay. PJ's like, dude, you can't be doing that to random people. And the kid's like, okay, bro. What are you going to do about it? And PJ's like, ask you nicely to not do that again. And the kid's like, whatever, man. I'm going to go viral on TikTok. There's nothing you can do about it. So PJ is kind of just like, okay, whatever, this is just a jerk. A lot of times with these people, you don't interact. Just leave it be. Just don't get tangled up with this kid, right? So PJ checks in on the video once again because he's kind of like, bro, if this goes viral, I'm going to be so mad. He checks in on the TikTok. The TikTok's gone. This kid's account got taken down. TikTok nuked his stuff. So in a way, PJ made it out on top, even though he would have preferred that none of this at all happened. We're going to call the subscriber submitted the next story Andrew. And so there's a girl in Andrew's class called Sarah. So anyways, let me explain a little bit of context. Andrew was a fairly popular kid. He was on the football team, but he was also not a jerk, right? He kind of understood how some people at his school, because this was like freshman year of high school. Look, freshman year of high school, you're thrown into high school. A lot of people are going to really care about things about like popularity, social status, a lot of stuff that, especially once you leave high school, actually has zero correlation to your well-being. In fact, a lot of times, it's actually funny, South Park episode made about this, current theme in like the way I do my stories, where basically, look, if you're kind of popular in high school, sometimes what can happen is you can be, so like full of yourself that you don't work on improving yourself, work on making your life better. And then by the time high school goes away, all that time when you could have built character, built like what you want to do, understand all those types of things. This is true about college as well. You spend all your time in high school and college being popular instead of really finding yourself. By the time you're like 25 or 30, or maybe even later, you're going to realize that like, bro, what am I doing with my life? It's no longer high school. So if you're not popular in high school and you're watching this video, please don't feel bad about yourself. In fact, you might statistically be better off. Anyways, so Andrew was popular in high school, but he wasn't a jerk. Sometimes in high school, if you're on a popular sports team and you're decent, you're going to be by default popular. So Andrew was, he had his quarrels with that. So he always tried to be as nice as possible and just be known as a good guy. Because he knew that he didn't need to do it. Like, this popularity wasn't because of him being mean to everyone. It was just because of him being on a high school team. So there's a girl. We're going to call her Sarah. She was one of the more top dog girls. Like, she was one of the more popular ones. I don't know if she was the most popular. I was just told that she was popular, right? And she was the cruelest out there. Which I think we shouldn't be too hard on Sarah, because I think everyone struggles in high school to some degree. However, we should still criticize her actions in this story. Anyways, Sarah was very, very cruel and probably felt that she needed to be to retain her status as being very popular at this high school, right? She probably felt like she needed to do all of this. Anyways, so this was and there's another kid in the class who we're going to call Ben. And normally the secondary character can be like the bad character, the spoiled kid, the prankster. But in this case, Ben was just genuinely a good guy. So don't think of any of the other Bens in the last two stories. Ben was just genuinely a nice kid. He wasn't that popular. He wasn't that good looking, which like, bro, who cares if you're a little like, you got some acne, you're maybe not freaking genetically like the bodybuilder. Who cares, bro? It's high school. Relax. That doesn't define you, man. So these are just true facts, or these are at least the way that the girls felt in high school for him. They weren't really rock with him like that. That's okay, man. I did not have the greatest high school girl experience ever. I'm sure I've alluded to that on some of my stories. And you're piecing the lore together a little bit by bit. But anyways, so this all happened one day when Andrew got caught wind that Sarah was going to be up to something just like so cruel. But he didn't know what. So he was like, oh boy. And he didn't know. He thought it was going to be like, she was going to like be mean to one of her minions, basically one of the girls that was less popular than her, but hung around her to try and become popular like her. And something this is kind of ridiculous, but in high school, everyone is ridiculous. And but Andrew actually saw exactly what unfolded. So, yes, one of Sarah's friends, this all happened at the cafeteria. One of Sarah's friends went over to where Ben was sitting. He was sitting with another kid who wasn't that popular, kind of one of the unpopular tables. This is not me being a jerk. I think it's stupid, right? But this is just me telling you how it is. And one of Sarah's friends sits down and says, hey, Ben, like, what do you think of Sarah? Secretly, Ben has always had a massive crush on this girl. He kind of knows that she's a little mean, kind of knows that she's a little full of herself. And by a little, I mean very. But whenever you have like a crush on a random person you don't know, you tend to build them up in your head to someone that you think they are, but they probably aren't. They won't hold up to this imaginary standard because they're not this imaginary person that you've made them out to be. Anyways, so Ben's like, oh, I think she's great, right? I think she's great. And Sarah's friend's like, oh, well, would you like to go on a date with her right now? And Ben's like, oh, geez, like, would I? Like, try and think of like Butters. Like, Butters is basically the best characterization of Ben, which makes this even more sad. So basically, he's like, oh my God, of course I'd like to go on a date with her. That's awesome. And like Ben turns to his friend, and his friend's like, oh my God, Ben, like, that's so cool, bro. Because I think Ben's friend knew how much like he liked her. And Andrew, from far away at his football table, was kind of seeing what was going on. Didn't know all of these details until after the fact, because he kind of went through and got the full story, but knew something was up. At a minimum, he knew something was up. Yeah, so anyways, Ben very excitedly walks over to the table where Sarah's at. And Sarah and all of her friends / minions or minions, right, were sitting there kind of snickering, laughing, whatever. And they all kind of get up except for Sarah, and they're like, time for your date, you guys. And Sarah sits down. And then Ben sits down, and Ben's like, Joel, geez, Sarah, I didn't know you felt like this. And I'm really excited to be on a date. I'm a little nervous, though. And Sarah's like, oh, okay. Well, it's the date. Then you're the gentleman. Let's go. And he's like, oh, okay. So Sarah, I was wondering. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just a little nervous right now. But I was wondering, like, what was your favorite class, maybe? Okay, look, Ben was not killing it on this date, to be fair, but it doesn't matter when you hear what's about to happen. So Sarah starts laughing. Then all of her girlfriends, whatever, start laughing too, because they have been like listening in. And Sarah's like, I'm sorry, I really wanted to make this go on longer because it would be funnier, but I just couldn't hold it together anymore. Ben, do you seriously think I'd go on a date with you? And Ben's like, oh, well, I mean, I didn't think so before, but your friend came over and said that you want. And that's when Ben started to realize that this was a setup. Ben's like, oh. Sarah's like, okay, get your little butt out of here. And Ben stands up and walks away. So from the distance, Andrew can tell that something's up. He didn't hear all this stuff. So Andrew goes over to one of the girls that he is friends with, who is kind of in Sarah's circle. And this girl feels terrible about what happened, but she doesn't hold that much power. She was kind of just a bystander. So the girl sits Andrew down and explains everything. By the end of it, Andrew's like, he's furious, bro. He is so mad because he already thinks this high school stuff is BS and it's stupid. But to take it to this level, to be cruel for no reason, this is just too much. Yeah, so anyways, there's a little bit more information I should tell you guys. Sarah has had these feelings for the most popular jock on the team, the star quarterback on the team. And the quarterback, he's a chill guy. He's not as like nice as Andrew by Andrew's own records or as his own interpretation. However, this guy is a big fan of kind of almost biblical justice in a sense. He's a big fan of everything in the world being right. He's very righteous in that sense. So Andrew sits him down. And Andrew is about to pull off something that might not be the most morally sound, but he believes it to be necessary. So Andrew sits down the star quarterback. We'll call the star quarterback Charlie. So Andrew sits down Charlie. He's like, he explains the whole situation. Charlie's like, that's just messed up, man. Like, that's not right. And Andrew's like, look, you know that girl Sarah's had a thing for you for a while. How about we say we do the same thing to her? Remember, I don't endorse this, but this is a very interesting story. Anyways, so Charlie's like, yeah, I'm down. I want things to be right in the world. He had a very like strong sense of things must be right. And so anyways, a couple days later, one of Charlie's friends, not Andrew, but another friend on the football team, goes to Sarah and says, hey, like, they're in the dining room. Charlie's like interested in going on a date with you. Would you like that? And Sarah, very excited inside, but it's like, okay, I'll go over. I'll consider it. Girls, should I do it? And she looks at them and they all kind of hold a very like reserved look. And she says, okay, I think I will. Secretly, I'm sure she's like, yes, finally, I'm now going to become the most popular girl in high school because I'm also now dating the most popular guy. I have unlimited power, like something like insane like that. But remember, I feel bad for Sarah in this situation because she was wrapped in, I feel bad for everyone, especially Ben, right? But she got wrapped into a life that she didn't want, right? Or that she'd be better off without having. High school does that to you sometimes. Anyways, though, so she sits down. And Charlie's like, hello. And Sarah's like, hello there. Charlie's like, welcome. Like, this is the nicest place I could take you, I guess. And she's like, yeah, this works. So, and Sarah says, so tell me, How have classes been for you? So funny that this was the line that Ben used on her when she broke down laughing or whatever. And Charlie says, well, Sarah, you know, I don't know how much longer I can do this. I mean, I couldn't actually be seen going on a date with you. Boom. Boom. He literally quotes her. And the thing is, too, that I think is the most important is that Sarah at that moment not only feels this sense of like, oh my God, a gut punch, but also recognizes that this is her own line parroted back right towards her. Yeah, so Sarah gets up and she's like, that's not very nice. And like Charlie's like, I was inspired to do it from you. I heard about what you did to Ben. And she kind of looks at him and has a momentary look in her eyes of, oh, and a little bit of remorse. But that quickly goes away. She storms back to your table. She tells everyone she wasn't a fan of Charlie, so she broke off the date. But word kind of got out on the low about what actually happened. So from this point on, remember, this actually happened this year, meaning that next year, Andrew, Charlie, Sarah, and all those people will be sophomores. Did Sarah have a change of heart immediately? No. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was told that while she didn't pull off any insanely cruel stunt like that, she continued to be cruel, to continue to maintain her social status. But one thing I will say is this is definitely a lesson that she will remember for a long time. And even if it didn't have an impact right away, I truly do believe that in time, she will change her ways because of this. Even if it's not right away. I believe by at least her junior and especially her senior year, this will be an important moment in her life to reflect on and to change differently. Or she's going to be a jerk her entire life. Who knows, bro?